Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of HHC Heroes and a Half Court. I am Chris. I'm here with my brother Jake. Jake, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good.
All right, and we are here actually recording this on Saturday night. This is fresh off of the Spurs victory over the Chicago Bulls, the new look Bulls. Most of it down, Otto Porter and got a chance to see them with their new squad and us with our same squad. But we're here on we're here on a Saturday night. Normally we do our shows on Sunday mornings. We go live on our YouTube channel, as well as our Facebook and on Twitter through Periscope. This week we're doing it a little bit different. Just going to be recording it on Saturday night, but it's a good opportunity for us to kind of talk to each other like fresh out after a game, which we don't live together, so we don't get a chance to do this very often. So this will be pretty fun too.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna treat it like this, like our normal show. I mean, our games that we cover are the games that go from a Sunday to Saturday. So we're gonna be able to cover the same exact things that we would have anyway. So just slightly different, that it's not going to be live like it normally is. But hopefully, if you've been checking us out live at 10 a.m., then you can still check us out. We're gonna have it up for you, and so hopefully that's what you're watching right now. So, anyways. Before we jump in, I just wanted to throw up on the bottom. Like I said, we do go live every Sunday at 10 a.m. And so if you see us, you can check us out. Give us a like, give us a follow, give us a share. Jump in the comment section. With your opinions on any of the things that we're talking about. We really appreciate it, and as well as giving us a follow on our Twitter account at Heroes Half Court. It's been probably one of our most active places, but we get a lot of good talks in over there as well. It's been a lot of fun. So, all right, Jake. We had 4 games on the slate, right? For this past week, culminating in tonight's game with the Bulls. So our record for the week was at what, 1-3.
Mm-hmm.
1-3, right? So we do our weekly predictions. I had oh my god, did I have a 3-2? I mean a 3-1.
I am pretty sure
I
all
had a
3 of us.
1-2. Yeah.
Or
I had
it was maybe Josh had 4-0, but I'm pretty sure all 3 of us had 3-1.
Yeah, 3-1. So we were hoping for some good things, and it kind of went the other way on us. So we went 1-3. So overall, Jake, with that being said, what are your how would you characterize this week?
Even with us going 1-3, like obviously, like it was already a garbage week from the first half of the week, and then like to say that we won this game is like at least a little bit of a what's the word that I'm looking for? I guess just like a relief. We didn't lose 4 games in a week, but I still hated this game. It was great for the first 3 quarters, but that fourth quarter ruined it all. It made me hate everything. So I mean, and excuse me, I'm talking more like the first half of the quarter. Just because it was fine. I mean, like we had a 20-something point lead at starting into the fourth quarter.
23, I believe.
Yeah, 23-point lead starting into the fourth quarter. Even if we have a 23-point lead, there's no reason why we should be slacking off when there's 12 minutes left in the game. And it's just like, I'm glad we got the win. But we got the win because Derek White and Jakob had to play pretty much outstanding for us to keep and maintain a lead.
Yeah. Okay. But okay. So let me ask you then. Okay, because we had like you would say overall, you would say it was pretty disappointing, but Do you think that the things that we did today were improvements on the things that we were doing when we were losing our game to Charlotte and then our 2 games to the Clippers? Like I guess let me ask it in a different way, just to kind of set you up. What do you think what do you think were the things that we're struggling with or were causing us to lose those first 3 games? And then what did you see anything different here in this Chicago game?
Yeah, for sure. There is the fast start to the game, and that's the whole reason why we were able to whoop them for 3 quarters straight. Was that we started off really strong. We were killer at the beginning of the game. So it was like,
and we talked about that in terms of specifically Chicago, about like trying to avoid putting ourselves in a hole like we did the last time we played them last week or whatever it was.
Exactly.
Yeah, go ahead.
And
keep going. My fault.
And no, you're fine. You're fine, because that's exactly like what we kind of what I wanted to bring up was just like I had been talking about us having such slow starts, and that was one of the reasons why I was disappointed. I was it like last week or the week before? No, yeah, last week, because even though we did have a solid record for 5 games in 7 5 games in 7 days, most of them were slow starting games, and it was rough. Like you could just tell that the games were rough for us. This game came out fast. We came out strong. We caused turnovers. Like we were doing all the right stuff in the first quarter, and then maintained it in the second and third quarter. Well, why can't we just maintain it for a fourth quarter? Why can we not just play good for 4 quarters straight? Why do we have to start being lazy and
I get
turnovers
that.
and all that stuff?
But I mean, like in the over the course of 48 minutes, it's the game is a moving and breathing kind of thing, and there was just a moment in the fight where our momentum and our energy was kind of, we were exhaling right at that moment that Chicago was ready to pound, and it just took us a little bit to kind of gather our footing again, and we kind of had to bring the starters back out, and luckily DeMar was there to kind of settle the game back down a little bit with a couple good plays and stuff like that. So I mean,
You're right. I am in a sense blowing it a little bit out of proportion, but it's just because we're Spurs fans. We see it way too often. We see us have our leads and have other teams just be able to be in a drought the entire game, but all of a sudden catch fire at one point and make it a close game. So
yeah, I mean, but I guess where I'm coming from is like, like think about a playoff series, any playoff series, and you're watching it, and you hear, like, you can just picture it. You hear the announcer saying something along the lines of like, well, they're gonna make a run at some time, or like you always hear like the players say that, like, well, we knew that they were gonna make that run in the second half. So it's like, you got to anticipate that your team is gonna start, that your opponent is gonna start swinging on you at some point in the fight. You know what I mean? I guess is what I'm trying to say.
And honestly, I feel like they in a sense shot themselves in the foot, which I don't think they were expecting Yak to be like to be splitting his free throws every time.
You mean with going with that method of trying to
they slowed down their own momentum by doing the hacky Yak, and I honestly think that was one of the reasons why they lost, was just because they slowed down their own momentum. That wasn't even us.
Well, I do think that DeMar came in and slowed the game back down for us. So, but yeah, I would agree that I could see, because I think at that point in the game, like around that 3-minute mark, 4-minute mark, I was already trying to kind of like double task and get things ready for this and stuff like that. So I didn't see all of that last little bit, because at that point you could already kind of see that the clock was too much on our side, and they had already missed a couple shots now. Like the game had already kind of, like you said, that it already felt like it was coming down. And then, like you're saying, they just kind of, they killed their own momentum in that regard. But I mean, okay. So, going backwards real quick, just think, because I would agree with you, first of all, that a 1-3 week, when we are coming home, we have this 9-game homestand. We feel like it's an opportunity for us to kind of gather together and kind of have a good, for it to be a positive experience, for us to start to generate some cohesion, all of the positive things that we can throw out. And so to see us drop that first one in a close game, but it was a close game where we're just making a lot of mental errors. Defensively, we were just giving up a lot from the outside, in my opinion. And then shooting was pretty bad, right? Our young guys had a string of games where we would just sing 4 for 11, 4 for 12, 4 for 10. You know
if
what
you
I mean?
if you want me to get into the specifics, right? This
Yeah,
was
I
a
mean,
game
yeah,
where
yeah, sure.
DeMar had 11 for 16, and Derek White had 7 for 11, which was good. But you see 4 for 11 from DeJounte. You see 4 for 12 from Keldon. Then you see 4 for 11 from Rudy, 3 for 8 from Patty. Even 1 for 3 from Lonnie, but Lonnie didn't get a lot of minutes.
So
It was
question
kind of rough for him all around.
was this okay, so was this was the game that did Lonnie play at all against the Clippers? I'm trying to remember.
So
Or about at that point, has
Lonnie,
he already been out?
so Lonnie definitely, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm going back to the box scores right here. Lonnie didn't play on that first game because he came down pretty hard in the Charlotte game, and that's what cut him a couple minutes.
Okay, yeah, yes, and then he sat the second. He sat out the second Clippers game.
And he rested all 3 of these games.
That's what I meant. I mean, like
Clippers
starting on that game. Yeah, starting on that game. Okay. But yeah, okay. So yeah, just like I said, it was and like you just displayed as well. Like overall, just a lot of bad shooting from a lot of people, and because of that shooting, like it bled into the Clippers game as well. Like we saw another night with a lot of people with 4 for 11, 4 for 12. Assist numbers were really down. I mean, obviously, if you're shooting bad, your assist number is going to go down. But I mean, it was like our two. In one of those games, and I wish I would have had it. Because a lot of like the a lot of the games that we were losing, people were just pointing fingers and calling out names, and everybody wants to.
This week was so full of people talking so much trash about our players.
Yeah, just trying to find somebody to point the finger at, right? And I heard it from a little bit from everybody. I mean, Derek White, especially with the extra things about like maybe him deactivating his social media or anything like that. I honestly could totally see that being like him just checking it off and trying to get away from it anyway versus anybody like him reading specifically something. But anyways, like he had a couple rough games. DJ had a couple rough games. But you heard their names. You definitely heard Rudy's name get thrown around. DeMar DeRozan, same thing. You know what I mean? So I think everybody was just feeling a little a little angsty. And then on top of that, we were building towards trade deadline, which we'll get a chance to talk to here in a little bit as well. So I mean, it was a lot of like. It was just a lot of bad energy, but it was just a lot of bad execution. You know what I mean? It was just a lot of bad overall. So I'm with you that like it was overall disappointing week, especially when you see like that second game, the Clippers game. They were at minus Kawhi. They were minus a whole bunch of guys too. And,
don't even get me started on that game.
And I'll be honest. I didn't watch a lot of that game, but it looked like a lot of the same things that were plaguing us and giving us trouble in that first game. From what I did see, it looked like a lot of the same. If that, would you agree that both of the games were kind of similar?
Yep. And I mean, the one I guess outlier here is that DJ had a solid night this night, but it was still like, I mean, it just wasn't enough. And like I said, there's no excuses for us to be losing against a team without 5 of their key players, 5 guys that are key rotational players. If I can remember correctly, they didn't have Kawhi, Marcus Morris. Obviously, they had just traded Lou Williams, so they weren't going to have Rondo. That's 3. Who else was not playing this night? Let me go back.
Bev and Serge.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Exactly. Bev and Serge. So like that's 5 people that are key rotational minute players, and they still beat us.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be kidding me. I don't care how bad of a shooting night our guys are having. There's no reason for us to be losing against a team like that. It's like at all.
And from what I saw, like, I mean, like defensively, Was it just like we're just giving up way too much, or is it
Mm,
just like because to be honest, I'll be honest. Okay, so when I saw that the first game, it just looked to me, like we were the younger team. They were able to have that gear. They were able to slow the game down to their tempo and really just break it down. You know what I mean? And
mm-hmm.
they looked like they were rolling in on like a playoff series. You know what I mean? Like they looked
Yeah.
they looked like they were ready to execute like that. So I mean, we just really didn't have that. And I'll be honest, I saw DeMar. DeMar came in and he wasn't shooting well against the Clippers, but in my opinion, he was one of. And I know people have been ripping on DeMar. Maybe not so much tonight against Chicago, but for sure the last couple games, especially his defense. But and dang, that's why I wish I kind of wish Josh was here so we can kind of jump into to what we were kind of alluding to earlier. But I would say that he was operating on the same tempo, and I know people don't like it sometimes, but he was kind of operating on that same tempo that LAC was operating on. Like he was a little bit more slowed down, and I think he was doing good things. He just wasn't hitting his shots. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I hate that people are talking so much mess about his defense. Like I understand that like obviously if you put a team of DeJounte and I'm just looking at this starting lineup, right? DeJounte, Derek, Keldon, DeMar, Jakob. Keldon and DeMar are going to be your two worst defenders. It doesn't mean they're bad defenders, but they're going to be your worst defenders on that lineup, right? And
Yeah.
some
Okay.
nights Keldon's going to be better, some nights DeMar's going to be better, because it depends on the matchups at the end of the day. If DeMar's going up against Kawhi Leonard and Keldon Johnson's going up against Serge Ibaka, your defense isn't going to look good on DeMar's end.
Yeah.
But you see Keldon Johnson going against Kristaps Porzingis, and you see DeMar going against Dorian Finney-Smith. Keldon's, even though Keldon can put up a fight against Kristaps in the paint, Kristaps might, shoot a couple good jumpers over Keldon Johnson just because of the height, So you're not
Yeah.
going to see a good defensive night for Keldon at that point. And I think in terms of those defense, you cannot get mad at DeMar in those aspects. You can only get mad at in a sense like the team defense, because I've said this all year that our team defense has just been poor.
I would say that that's when it comes to team defense, a breakdown in the team defense is usually somebody missing some kind of rotation or some kind of, and so I think that that's maybe where people are saying is like he's the one who's getting caught ball watching, letting cross court passes go right to his man, and all of a sudden he's way out of position. You know what I mean? Like so I think there probably is fair criticism, and I did see a little bit of it. I understand what people are saying
in those aspects for sure. In those aspects for sure, I can 100% understand. Like well, he's just not like sometimes I definitely understand what you're saying when DeMar might just be what's the word here, just like lazy, like not paying attention as much, But like I feel like I see that with Lonnie. I feel like I see that with Keldon.
Yeah.
And a lot less with DJ and Derek, because they're the two people that are actually watching their guys being off ball pests in that sense, being able to stay locked in on their guy while watching the ball at the same time.
Yeah.
But I see it with most of our guys, like it's everybody, and that comes down to like communication, being able to understand whenever you hear people say, switch, whatever, yada yada, right? And I can't fault DeMar on that end. And even then, when people wanted to fault DeMar on the defensive end, well, what in a sense it's a give and take. Like, is DeMar's offense better than what his defense doesn't bring?
Yeah.
And when it comes to our team, who's gonna bring DeMar's offense?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Lonnie's just not there yet. Lonnie is not the same caliber of a player as DeMar is. He can build up to that maybe, but he's just not that right now. So, like, even if DeMar's not having a good night shooting, I don't understand why people would ever, be mad at DeMar for not having the greatest night whenever the rest of our guys aren't having the greatest night,
Yeah. And I would agree. Like, at some point we are going to have to give those reins over to the young guys, but it's apparent that, we still need to have somebody in there to be responsible for those points. Cause we're not there 100% yet. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So overall, I would agree with you. It was a little bit disappointing. I am glad that we were able to, cause I'm glad we were able to kind of turn things around tonight. Cause the energy and the attention to detail and the effort they looked just as good as like our shot making. Yeah, we were making a lot of shots in the first half too, which helps. But everything else around it was good as well. You know what I mean? The energy was in the right place. I think that we were, and the flip side of that is the Bulls are getting used to their new teammate and all that kind of stuff too. Like, things were working. They're set up and they were set up in our favor a little bit at the beginning of the game. And I think we did a good job of coming out with good energy, having taking advantage of the things that should be in our favor. We're at home. It's okay to have some advantages out the gate and use them. So I think that we did a good job with that. It looks bad, especially when, we did the same thing to the Bulls, just a couple weeks ago. So it should be in your brain and all of that kind of stuff. Like, I understand that, but, I don't, and maybe I am being a little bit more lenient on the game, because it's like you said, at least we got the win at the end of the week. And it's like, after the week we had and all that kind of stuff, it just feels good to at least learn some lessons with the win. You know what I mean? Because that's how I'm choosing to view it. You know what I mean? It's like we're gonna have to. I think Sean had said that they were doing the hack yak, right? And I heard Sean say, like, this is a good thing for Jakob right now, that he has to go out there and prove him. He has to go prove that he can be out there and get past this thing. So I think that we ended up getting the win, and in hindsight with 2020 vision, it feels like, okay, this is, at least we got a chance to learn this lesson right now of feeling really good about how we were playing, but just knowing that, like, at no point can you let up, because no team's gonna just sit there and lose. You know what I mean? No team's gonna resign to a 25 point lead when there's still time on the clock. You know what I mean? Because that's just not how it works. So sure. I'm a little bit bummed, because I was hoping to get like a full quarter of Cam and Trey and Q and Luca and Drew too. Drew had a really good game tonight too, with a lot of good energy.
Drew was playing like he was the first option on our team. I was like, wow, all right, Drew, you take those layups. And obviously when we're up on a big lead and he sees an open lane, take it. It's not. I'm not going to complain about it. Obviously he's an NBA caliber player. He should be making those easy looking shots, stuff like that. And obviously if he's drawing contact, getting fouls, like, he's making the smart decisions.
Exactly. Yeah. Him and Derek White tonight were in a really good defensive zones tonight. Like they were locked in, and I appreciated the effort from both of those guys.
For sure.
So okay. We had an okay week. Like a little bit of a down week. I did like hearing Pop and DeMar kind of hit it right on the head for me when he was like, "Hey man, like we hit a wall and we got to acknowledge it. We got to learn from it. And we got to get better. We got to move forward." Like, you know what I mean? So like that's really all you can do. So I'm looking forward for us to kind of, we still have 5 more games from this homestand. We still, to be honest, we still have a chance to go positive for the homestand. You know what I mean?
Yes,
obviously we got to put together some wins, but these are the tests. These are the tests. If you have goals like the players are saying about wanting to go to the playoffs and pushing for all that kind of stuff, if those are in your goals, then you have to build on. You have to build good habits every day. You know what I mean? So this was day 1. I think that they'll have some stuff to talk about giving up the lead and how that kind of it came at you. But in every boxing match, there's a little bit of time maybe where the guy gets you on the rope for a second, and you just have to take a couple hits while you're like trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? You're thinking about how you're going to get out of it, but at the same time, you're taking some blows. And I think that was the Spurs for like the end of the third going into the fourth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I definitely think, like I said earlier, that I at that point, it was just me being a little more overreacting than usual. Obviously, just coming off the game, like the thoughts are still fresh in my mind, but it's a scare nonetheless. Like it's just something that I'm like, yo, don't do this to me. Like let's just get a win for once in our lives. It's not
I do like
holding your breath for that split second.
I do like the humbling experiences of, there's moments where Drew Eubanks looks like he's flexing a little bit, right, with his dunks, but then there's moments where Kobe White is getting into a groove and hitting you four jumpers in a row. You know what I mean? So it's like I like how we're that's what that's what the NBA is, man. So
yep.
It was a good lesson for us to learn tonight, and I'm glad that we ended up with the win. So another huge thing for us for this week in the NBA in general was us approaching that trade deadline. You know what I mean? So I mean, you want to start there, more of like a general thing. You want to start with the LeMarcus Aldridge. You want to talk about like Spurs and their moves that they made. We can go whichever direction you want to go first.
I think we can go general. We just talked about the Bulls, so we'll go ahead and just kind of go into like the Vooch trade, go from the Magic. And then I guess just like kind of like a general like aspect of like what you think, maybe if you see any teams that you think got a little bit better. Obviously, for me, there's one outlier in Miami, but we can kind of get into that, right? So obviously, like seeing a team like the Magic making those trades to finally like sell, to put all their guys on the market except for Terrence Ross. I don't know if you saw his tweets at all during that trade deadline.
He was pretty active in it, right? And then he said something like, "I'm the
boss.
I'm the captain now," or something.
Now. Yeah, it was hilarious, man. Terrence Ross is a character, all right. Like I wasn't expecting to see him like be so active on the TL during that day, but I was honestly expecting to see like maybe Terrence Ross for like 2 second rounders, just like California or something like that,
exactly.
Some contender, right? Like he's not a bad player at all. He does decent things and all that kind of good stuff. But still, just talking about like the Magic in general, seeing them sell, I was like, it really amped me up because it was one of the first trades in the morning. I was chilling in my class, and
it wasn't even like it wasn't even like they started with Gordon, which most people figured was getting traded. They went right with Vucevic,
Yeah, exactly, man. Like I said, I was just chilling in my class in the morning, and it happened to be like the class with like the people that also talk sports with me, and so I just like jump out of my chair like, Vucevic to the Bulls. And they're like, what the heck is this guy talking about? And so then it just started getting into NBA talk, stuff like that at that point. And it's cool to see Vooch on a team that's not in the middle of the, well, I mean, technically the Bulls are still like in the middle, but their roster makeup's better than what the Magic makeup was. So so it's like at least he's on a team that now he has a second star to work with, and he, him and Jakob have a good chance to push for the playoffs. And I'm excited to see that because I for one, like, even though I wasn't willing to trade a lot for Vucevic because that's just not the direction that I want us to go in.
Yeah.
Like, I think he is a top 5, arguably top 3 center in the NBA. Obviously not 1 and 2, because 1 and 2 you could debate between being Joel Embiid and Jokic, right? Whoever you want being your 1 and 2, I wouldn't disagree with you on either one of them. But your 3, 4, 5, I feel like that's when it starts to get, that's when you start to like think, oh, Bam, Cat, and then Vooch, like those couple centers that go in there, Rudy Gobert as well, depending on how much you value defense. Yeah. And
I think you mentioned those 2 MVP guys, and they even brought up a graphic today during the Spurs game, saying like,
he's like,
the only person to average. Yeah, the only person to average this many points, this many rebounds, and at this percentage this year. Oh, and shoot 40 from the 3 is Jokic, Embiid, and Vooch.
And Vooch. So I mean, like, it's like I don't understand why people are like. It's just because he's on the Magic, they've been sleeping on him, and I've always thought he was a really good center. yes, he's getting paid a good amount, but I mean, he's getting paid a good amount as a top 5, top 3 big in the league. So what
Yeah.
what else can
And most of the time, he kind of was doing a little bit of like what LeMarcus Aldridge was doing in his like most productive years with the Spurs, which is like having to shoulder a lot of the load because of injury or because the roster isn't fully what they want it to be. They're really having to rely on him, and he stepped up, man. He like, you know what I mean? He became like, I think a guy like Vucevic can be seen almost like not a role player, but he can get overlooked, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And he kind of like pushed himself into that all-star talks and stuff like that with his play more than anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I agree. It was cool to see. It was cool to see him in a different uniform. It's kind of weird, a little, but like you had said, I think you said it off camera. But like the first play of the game, they go right to him, and he hits Yak for a little baseline jumper or something, and so right away it was like, dang, okay. You can already kind of see, like you're saying, they have a decent little core. Who knows if they keep marking in or what their plans are to try to build around that. But at least it's cool. It's cool to see some of these other Eastern Conference teams start to have their identity of like, hey, this is what we're going to try to push with, man, because we need to see some of these other teams start to go for it.
For sure. And so then we can kind of move on from just that one little trade. We'll just kind of go into the next Magic trade, which was at that point, I'm pretty sure it was Aaron Gordon, if not Evan Fournier. But we'll talk about Aaron Gordon, right? Aaron Gordon to the Nuggets, and especially because this is going to be another team that we'll have to be looking at, because we're all in the West, we're all fighting for those spots, and the Nuggets got better. They gave up. I'd say they gave up a solid package for Aaron Gordon. I'm seeing a lot of people. I feel like he is definitely not valued at what NBA Twitter is valuing him, but I'm seeing a lot of people undervalue him, and I feel like people are overvaluing him a little bit, because we just haven't been able to see him fully like we haven't been able to see him actually do it on a solid enough team to say that he can contribute well. You know what I mean?
I could see that, but also he's not, he's going, his role though is going to be way different, or not his role, but his, like they're going to ask him to do the same things, but just, his responsibility is way down in terms of how much he has to shoulder. But I'll agree, man. When you said earlier, like if there's any teams that like stick out to you, the two for me, are right next to each other in the standings, and it's Denver and Portland. I think both of those teams got better because of their trades. I think they were already pretty solid teams. Like when I look at the Western Conference like playoff picture, and for now, just for argument's sake, I'm gonna leave off Memphis and Golden State, even though they are technically in the play-in conversation at this moment. There's a game and a half that separates. There's a game and a half that separates the 8th and 9th seed, and then there's 3 games that separate 6 from 7. So you can already kind of start to see these tiers start to like form, right? And I really think that middle tier just got like so much freaking like heavier,
so much tighter.
Like in my opinion, it like San Antonio, the Mavericks, the Blazers were like all kind of around the same area. And then I would say Denver, I would personally put Denver like a little bit, like I think that the standings are pretty indicative. Like they're a little bit better, a little bit more fully realized in my opinion. But now I think that both of those, I think now like the top like 5, 6 seeds are just like pretty strong, man.
Yeah, for sure. And so, I mean, Denver got better. I saw a lot of people saying that it's literally, they just traded for another guy to play the Jeremy Grant role, and I agree with that. Like that's I feel like that's 100% exactly what they needed. They obviously they were a couple games out of the finals last year. They made it to the Western Conference Finals and beat good teams to make it to the Western Conference Finals. Yeah. So they definitely, you bring the same core guys, and the only player that you could assume got worse is Paul Millsap. but then you lose
Yeah.
Jeremy Grant, and you can see where they really needed him. So in a sense, getting a guy who can play the same role, play the same caliber and stuff like that as Jeremy Grant can with Aaron Gordon, I
Yeah.
feel like that's
And
good.
they also so they lose Grant, and then they end up losing. It was Gary Harris, right?
Yeah, but Gary Harris, if I'm
then
not
Craig,
mistaken, he was having
then
it down here.
yeah, okay, but I guess what I'm trying to say is like just coming off of from last year, right? So from last year's Nuggets, they're without Craig, they're without Harris, and they're without Grant, and that was a lot of their wing depth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, you're right, man. They filled that hole kind of right back with a real strong player. And then on Portland side of things, Portland's pickup was
Norman Powell for Gary Trent Jr. and Rodney Hood.
And that's another one, man, where it's like, even if you don't know, like I don't watch a whole bunch of Raptors. I know that Powell's been able to put up some good numbers, especially recently. But I don't watch a lot of Toronto basketball, but even just knowing like his role on the team and seeing some of his numbers, and then like you can see what Rodney Hood does and what Gary Trent does, but you can also see that like, all right, what they're going to do for you is going to be sparing, and it's going to be very situational, and Powell has the ability to do what they were doing plus more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's exactly
you can start to rely on him for like deeper minutes if you needed it.
Sure.
That's just another legit weapon now at that point,
For sure. And I definitely I see a lot of people. There's a YouTuber by the name of Rusty Buckets who is very big on Gary Trent. And obviously I don't watch Portland basketball or Raptors basketball.
But you can see that how he could be like an energy guy. He can be
He was saying that he felt like Gary Trent's potential was definitely close to how good Norman Powell is right now. And so in a sense, you're literally just trading a younger piece to get the same piece but better and older. I mean,
you're just pushing fast forward and saying, well, let's just get that realized right now, because now is when we have the CJ McCollum still with Dame, and we still have Carmelo being a contributor, because at some point that will start to fall off, and now Powell can be what Carmelo Anthony was for their team. You know what I mean? Like even for their future. So I mean, man, I think that they definitely got better, and I had put it on. As soon as I saw those pop up, I was like, "Oh man, that those now have become like two teams that I'm going to be excited to see whoever they end up matching up with in that first round is going to be fun."
And and that's definitely a good thing for Portland this year. But the big question will literally be, are they willing to give Norman Powell the bag for next year? Because he's not going to accept that $11 million. He's gonna, he's going to get paid. More closer to the 18 to 24, like he's gonna get paid big bucks by some team, and
Well, how much are they paying Carmelo, and is he still on the books for next year?
I don't know.
I'll look right now.
While you're looking, I'll go ahead and keep talking about how Norman Powell's not gonna accept that player option next year. He's gonna get paid more money, and the thing was that they had Gary Trent Jr., who was on a cheap deal. And next year he's going to want that extension, but I mean, you give him an extension and he's still building up his career at that point, So I think that was like the questions behind making that trade, but I still understand why Portland would do it, because I feel like they will. They're a team that's not exactly the biggest market, and while people love Dame, like not everybody wants to go to Portland to go play with Damian Lillard, so. I feel like they're gonna use that money somewhere, and putting your money in Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, Norman Powell, and hopefully if Yusuf Nurkic can get back to where he was, then you got a solid core. You got a solid core to keep retooling around.
Yeah, and to be honest, like they the only people that they owe heavy money to is or I guess I should say that they're like heavily committed to would be CJ and Dame. Everybody else, I mean, they're locked into some of their young rookies, but I mean, that's nothing. The only Robert Covington is making 12 this year, and he's making he's making 12-1 this year, and he's making 12-9 next year. I don't know how much Robert Covington will be like if he's taking a drop off or anything like that. I don't know if that's like a movable name for them at some point, you know, maybe next year or something, and maybe that's more room or more time or whatever for Powell. So and who knows? Like, I think we have time to see what Powell could be for them throughout the rest of this year, because they're going to make it into the playoffs. So we'll have some chances to see what he can bring. You know, there's a couple games where Dame is feeling it, but CJ's not, or vice versa. So, you know, maybe Powell's that guy who can just, if one of them is not feeling it, he can be that steady man. You know what I mean? And that would be good for them. All right. Well, say it again.
That's kind of funny. There was just like a tweet that I saw from Dame that like somebody like tweeted at Dame, and he was like, "Bro, you couldn't get 30 points. Like, come on now." And it was like his betting thing. Everything had gone right except for Dame didn't score 30 plus, and it was like a night where CJ was having a good night. Like, I think I forgot how much CJ was having, but like Dame tweeted at him and was like, "Bro, CJ was going off. I'm not gonna try and score 30 when my teammates, you know, going off. You're gonna give me are you gonna give me a cut of the money if I score 30 for you?" And so it's just like so hilarious seeing Dame like, you know, talk back to somebody who's like, "Yo, come on, man." It's just pretty funny. Yeah. It's just one of the things I could think of from that.
Our question are there any other like trades that like stuck out to you that were like, okay, this for specifically like as we are thinking about this year's playoffs and stuff that really like shook us up?
Depot to the Heat. Depot to the Heat for Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, and I don't remember if there's anything else in that trade. Honestly, there's not a lot in that trade. Rockets got fleeced. I'm sure you've been hearing that word thrown around a lot, and that is the only trade that I would say. Like, I'm not somebody who uses the word fleeced a lot, but that is definitely a trade that like I was like, man.
Yeah, but also I think okay. So actually, it's funny that you like. It's funny that you bring that up or whatever, but like I feel like that's kind of what like could have happened to like a DeMar DeRozan. You know what I mean? Like he comes through San Antonio, but he's only there for that one little bit to finish that rest of the season out. Or as soon as his contract is done, then he's just like, you know, or we move him right away, like for something like that. Like it could have been real quick. And so like, you know, Oladipo, I guess it had been rumored, or you guys have been saying, or people have been saying that like he wanted to go to Miami, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I just felt like I don't know. Maybe like Houston they kind of already knew like we're not gonna get, even though he's a big name, and this is like what we're getting in this thing to send our disgruntled guy, you know, and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I think they just kind of knew like we're not gonna end up getting, you know, what we want, what we think he's worth.
The thing that people question though is that they traded James Harden for Karis LeVert and Jared Allen, and then a couple first rounders, right? All those first rounders. And I understand moving Jared Allen. To Cleveland because you know you have Christian Wood. Christian Wood's not old; he's still young. So you're still building around him. And if you think that fit's not going to work, then you move the guy who you know isn't on your team right now.
But they go get a guy like Olynyk or something. Is that what you're?
No, they traded Karis LeVert for Victor Oladipo. Why would you do that? Why would you make that trade when Karis LeVert's younger and is on a longer contract?
Yeah, like, yeah, and maybe I was thinking a different deal. But yeah, keep going.
And so, but that's just why people were criticizing Houston's management, because even though like they could have like, even if that was the only package that they could have gotten for James Harden, which is not a bad package, like, you know, it's still a good package. Even if that's the only package that they could get, like, why would you trade Karis LeVert for an older guy who is on a 1-year contract and like hasn't proved himself to be a good, like, hasn't proved himself to be like the caliber player that he was back before he got injured, you know?
Yeah. You know what? Or let me ask. I wonder, like, does the injury to Christian Wood and them starting that long ass losing streak, does that like change their idea of like wanting to get rid of Oladipo right away? You know what I mean? Because maybe at the time it's like, well, we got this young guy, we got John Wall, we got Oladipo. Let's push for whatever kind of you know.
And I think that's what they wanted to do.
Yeah. So as soon as he went out and they
time,
started just losing all those games, it was like, well, we're not gonna waste this year. Let's just get some. You know what I mean? Like, let's just get some return for this guy. I mean, they're kind of in a bad position all around, to be honest.
Either way, Miami
and yeah, exactly. I was going to say we should be talking about like the other side of it, which is what Miami's roster is looking like now.
Even if Oladipo has been questionable this year, he's not going to be playing a role that's crazy for him. All he has to do is play defense for that team. Bam, Jimmy, Goran Dragic, and maybe Tyler Hero, if he can pick it up, can hold that offense. You know what I mean?
Well,
Robinson as well.
And a guy like Oladipo can make the jobs of Hero and Anderson that much easier too. So he can help them, but just from being out on the court. He's another guy that your defense has to stare at and hold account and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so
even if he hasn't been consistent or he just hasn't been as good as he used to be, his offensive end doesn't need to be crazy. Like it's just his defense that they're going to be like, yo, we just need you and Jimmy to be guarding the two of the best players. You know what I mean? Like, and even then, you got Jimmy Butler to be your first perimeter defender. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even need Victor Oladipo to be like, unless he's going against CJ McCollum that night, like, or somebody who's like that good. Like if it's going against the Bucks, well, Jimmy's on Chris Middleton. Jimmy's not guarding Giannis, so then that means that Victor Oladipo gets to guard Drew Holiday, and Drew Holiday, he is good. He's a good offensive player, but he's not the caliber of the guys that I was just saying.
Yeah, I get you. It's definitely gonna make them better. I'll be honest. Like, I feel like I've been saying that a lot today. I'll be honest. Because we are gonna start to talk about right now, and we probably should. Talking about the Spurs and LeMarcus Aldridge and all that kind of stuff. I think, for a while, most people were thinking that LA was going to end up, in Miami. And that's kind of what I was hoping for. I was kind of hoping that they would have been like, okay, we're setting ourselves up for probably a Miami, Brooklyn, Eastern Finals, or, obviously Milwaukee is and Philly, I'm not trying to go over them, but just giving Miami their credit of they're the ones, they're the reigning Eastern Conference champions. And on top of that, all they got to do is peak at the right time. And LA would have been a good bolster to them, but instead,
he would have.
But instead, we're flipping over to him, deciding to take his talents to Brooklyn. I mean, we don't have to spend forever. It happened today. His role could be diminished. Well, we talked about it a little bit earlier today, but I mean, I don't know. What are your feelings on his impact going to Brooklyn? They're loading up for sure.
Yeah, I have a couple things to say, so I'll try to make it as like summed up as I can. But one, wanted him on Miami. I really wanted him on Miami. I know. Josh and our cousin Drew like to make fun of me a lot on Twitter and stuff like that. But like I am a Spurs fan, yada yada, right? But I like the people that are in Miami. If LeMarcus Aldridge would have gone to Miami, then I would have been like, all right, if we're not in the playoffs, I want Miami to win this chip. I want Jimmy Butler to win a chip. I want Victor Oladipo to win a chip. I want Bam to win a chip. I want LA to win a chip. Like I want all these guys that it would have been it
would have been a very easy team to root for.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, if he would have gone to Miami and he still would have been contributing, he would have been in a solid system. Like, it just would have been nice for him. And then I see him sign to the Nets, and I'm like, man, I literally talked to my other cousins that I'm on this trip with. I literally talked to them about how if he goes to the Lakers, I don't know about all that. I don't know if I could be supportive of, like, I want LA to win a ring. And then I had said, like, completely different, that this is the year that I want the Nets to lose, because this is the year where they just don't have all the talent behind them. So if we can at least have just 1 year where, your favorite is not Brooklyn to win, and we see a different team win, and then the next couple of years Brooklyn has the off seasons to build their team, then it is what it is. But at least we got this year, And then now LA joins this team, and I'm like, I was supposed to not root for Brooklyn, I was supposed to not want these guys to win this year. But I don't know. I might have to say, well,
no.
If LA gets his ring, LA gets his ring. But I don't know.
I would be happy for LeMarcus to get a ring if it was with Brooklyn. But I don't think I'm not. I can't root for Brooklyn. I can't root for Brooklyn.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I definitely understand what you're saying.
It's too much with the KD leaving and openly talking about him not feeling at home and not feeling like he was getting the satisfaction from the winning that he was doing in Golden State. It's hard for me to want to to think that this is any different. And then on top of that, I've gotten a too much of a peek behind the curtain of James Harden being in Houston for so long.
You just don't want to root for James Harden.
I just it's like I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah. There's too many negatives on that Brooklyn team for me to say, yeah, I want Blake Griffin to win. Yeah, I want Kyrie to win. Yeah, I want LA to win. But everything else about Brooklyn, I'm like, 1, like you said, KD. 2, James Harden. 3, they ruined one of my favorite young teams in the D'Angelo Russell Nets. That was one of my favorite teams to watch. I loved that team. That's why I have a D'Angelo Russell Brooklyn Nets jersey, because that team was so fun to watch, and I love D'Angelo Russell, but they ruined it. And obviously, you want a championship ring. You want to, if you get a chance to get KD, Kyrie, or whatever, right? But still, that's just a couple things that I'm just like, I hate you, Brooklyn. I will always hate you.
And then just even today, or yesterday or whenever, James Harden comes out answering that question, saying I'm the MVP. I understand that every player should say that about themselves, and he is in the consideration. So I understand it. You're campaigning for yourself. You're confident in your own abilities. You're putting up great numbers. I understand all of that kind of stuff, but it's just I don't know, man.
You'll never be the MVP when you have two other MVP caliber players on your team.
Yeah, it's just,
if you want to argue only one, you still have 2 other superstars on your team. And that's why you'll never be the MVP.
Yeah, is it because you're hitting a good stretch right now while some of your guys are out? Kudos to you carrying the load right now. With as your top dogs are still out, I guess. You know what I mean? But at the same time, if we're talking about MVP for this year, in no way would I look at the guy who did the exit interview for his Houston Rockets tenure the way he did. And be like, that's the most valuable player in the NBA. I don't think I think it's there is a little bit of that ambassadorship that comes with being the most valuable player in the league, and so I think from that regard, I would probably take some other people who probably have very comparable numbers and have very comparable responsibilities on their team, and a lot of them are with. To be fair to James Harden, a lot of them are the people who are MVP candidates are with other really damn good players on their team. They're not soloing it. I'm not trying to say that because everybody's got great talent on their teams now. But yeah, he wouldn't get my vote if I had him, which I don't. I'm just a guy.
And not even saying that James Harden is the best player on Brooklyn, because you can argue between James Harden and Kevin Durant, right? But if your second best player is Kevin Durant and you're the most valuable player, no. There should never be a case where you are the best player on your team and your second best player is Kevin Durant and you win MVP. There should never be that. The only time that was ever possible was when Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook were on a team together. But that was when they were both young and they both got drafted by the same team, not to where you had both of them join together. No, there should never be a team like that. And the only reason why KD won in 2014 with Russ Westbrook on his team was because Russ got injured. So you needed your second superstar to be injured to where you had to carry the load by yourself to show the league I carried this team here. That's why I'm the most valuable player. And at that point,
James is doing a little bit of that right now because Katie's been out and Kyrie's been in and out, and you know what I mean. And but anyways, now they'll have LeMarcus. I think he'll. I had read. I think Woj said that he's gonna that they have plans for him to be there. To play heavy minutes for them for the center position. So I think that they will give him some things to do, and hopefully he's got good success. I think what did we say earlier? Like between him and Blake and DeAndre Jordan and Claxton, right? So it's like between the four of them, I think you can spread out and have a pretty decent paint presence and do the things that they need to do.
And the last thing that I want to say is just to kind of bring up the fact that I don't think anybody in Spurs, well, I don't know. I'm sure there's a couple people on Spurs Twitter. I don't think anybody between us three would say that LeMarcus Aldridge is super washed. I've been seeing so many people on Twitter say like this doesn't matter for the Nets, yada yada. Like he's not gonna do much for them. Like no, LA's gonna contribute to that team some way. He's not gonna go there just to ride the bench the entire time, unless they don't give him minutes, obviously. But
yeah,
if he's on their team and he's getting minutes for them consistently, he's gonna provide some impact for them. He's not gonna be that bad. Like he's not gonna be the LeMarcus of old, but he's still not bad. He's still a contributing center to the NBA. And you said this a lot, Chris. This was definitely something that I was bringing up to people on Twitter. Was we didn't get to see enough of LeMarcus on the bench. But I assure you that if we would have played LeMarcus on the bench for longer than 2 or 3 games,
yeah,
he would have been killing backup centers. He would have been killing backup forwards in the NBA. Like, he's better than those people. He's just older, and he didn't get the chance to prove that he was better than those people. So
and a little bit of that might have been on him. A little bit of that might have been on him too, like not wanting to do it here. You know what I mean? I could totally see him saying, if I'm gonna take a diminished role, if I'm gonna be the starting power forward for a second unit, then I'm gonna do it for the chance to win a ring. I'm gonna go help. I'm gonna go help one of these guys do that versus and that's his prerogative. You know what I mean? He's had a long career. He's done a lot of good things with 2 organizations now. He's left on good terms with both of those organizations. He's now onto his 3rd. So I mean, like
exactly.
No. Even though personally I won't be rooting for his team in this postseason, and if that might change, literally it's like when it's like the winding minutes of like the deciding game of the NBA Finals. That's when when the crown is about to be awarded to somebody is when I allow myself to just be happy for everybody who's getting ready to win. You know what I mean? It's right as it's getting ready to happen. I'm like, dang. LA's about to get a ring. Oh, heck yeah. Oh, so-and-so's about to get a ring. Oh, heck yeah. Oh, so-and-so and usually you start from like the low guys on the bench and then you work your way up to like the guys that you figure would be getting a ring at some point or whatever.
There's literally only one team other than the Nets. Like in terms of like teams that I don't want to see win a ring, the number one team that I don't want to see win a ring is the Lakers. So if I see Lakers Nets in the finals, you know who I'm rooting for.
Now that is true. I was rooting for the Heat, last year, and I think if it was the Lakers and the Nets, I might have to root for LA. I'll call it I'll say root for LA versus
you'll never see me root for the Lakers ever. I don't care if they are going against the big 3. No matter what. I better not see LeBron win another ring ever.
It's been fun. As soon as he went to LA, I was like, great. I'm so glad I'll be able to like openly like not hate him, but just root against him, in the spirit of competition and all that kind of stuff again. Because it was easy to like his return to Cleveland. It was easy to like his him kind of having to spearhead a lot of teams or going against the Warriors a whole bunch. Like it was a good time. So I'm glad to be back on that. Like, all right, we're back to just like talking mess about LeBron whenever he plays and everything like that. Is there anything else that you want to bring up in terms of the Spurs and their, just they're overall not really making a lot of moves. We had the opportunity, I guess to get to make moves in terms of Patty Mills, Rudy Gay, DeMar DeRozan, and some of our older guys.
Even Trey.
Trey Lyles, right? Which Trey Lyles was Trey Lyles was on his way to Dallas for like a half second or something like that. Yeah, go ahead. Just overall thoughts, I guess, on the Spurs.
I'm just gonna talk about my one moment at the school. I'm chilling. There's like this cool little like small isolated room where I get to practice my music in the band hall. Mm-hmm. And everything's all good. It's like I'm chilling, and I realize, there's about like 45, however many minutes left until the trade deadline is officially over. I'm just gonna keep refreshing on Twitter and keep looking at that stuff, man. Yeah. And yeah. And as the time goes on, my heart starts to kind of like go a little bit faster, and I'm like, all right, where's my Spurs trade? And then I finally see.
Were you hoping? Were you hoping to see? Well, I'll let you finish your thought. And then I'll.
I was just waiting to see a trade for us. I was just waiting to see see if we traded LeMarcus to the Heat. Like that's one thing that I was waiting for all day. Was like, even though people had been saying the buyout market had been, the biggest thing that was going to happen. Like, you never know. We could have found some trade for him. Like, either way, like I was still just kind of like waiting. Like, man, are we gonna make a trade or not? Like even though we are known to not make trades, there was so many things that were happening all at once. I was like, you have to think that something was going to happen. And so then I'm like, man, where's our trade? Where's our trade? Where's our trade? And then I see Shams tweet out 3-team trade, Trey Lyles to Mavericks. I was jumping. I was like, what are we getting? What are we getting? What are we getting? Then I see trade or tweet deleted. Yeah. And I'm so glad there was nobody in that band hall, because I was yelling at the top of my lungs, like, why didn't we not make a freaking trade, man? I threw my hat down. I was jumping back and forth in that little room, just like, why can we not make a goddamn trade? Calm down, settle down, see us actually make a trade. I don't even want to say that it was a trade. We just
You're talking about the Chris,
Marquise Chris thing, which I guess I'm cool with it because it was a financial trade. It was a financial trade, and we're getting a little bit more next year, so it's okay.
Yeah.
And if he says that he liked the way that we developed him and helped him for the rest of the season, and he wants to come back, I'm okay with that. He's not a bad player.
Exactly, and that's kind of what I was thinking too. It's like that guy is a guy who fills a need for us. So if at the very minimum this is just our opportunity to give to get an extended look at him that other teams won't be able to get. He'll be able to be with our medical staff this whole time. Hopefully DeJounte Murray, who is his college teammate, will be able to kind of already attest to like our recovery. You know what I mean? Like the way that we manage injuries and all that kind of stuff, and just make him feel a little bit more comfortable with that. I mean, he's an NBA pro, so he's probably fine with it. But But I mean, what I'm trying to say is, at the very minimum, it could be something that if we just nurture it the right way, he could be somebody that we can maybe offer some money to next year, and him be more inclined to say yes, because he's just been around us for a whole half a year or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So it's very low risk, potentially medium to high rewards with a guy like that. You know what I mean? Because especially because again, like I said, he fills a role that we need right now. You know what I mean? We've been talking about needing a rim runner and somebody who's just young and ready to run and jump, and he had some pretty decent games, I think, against the Spurs. You know what I mean? So it'll be. I honestly, I'm excited to see. That's like one of those little sneaky trades that could be something for us next year. You know what I mean? And overall, I wasn't as angry for sure, but I wasn't as whatever about the Spurs not really making any of those moves. I've been on record, at least on this show, saying before how to me it was more valuable to hang on to a Rudy and a Patty and a DeMar for the rest of this year for the things that we were talking about earlier, you know what I mean? For DeMar being able to come in and slow a game down. Rudy, obviously, Rudy and Patty were making their shots today, so it makes you see them, you feel a lot better about them when they're actually hitting their shots. But I mean, it's the way that Patty or even Rudy, man, it's the way that Rudy can still get to his spots whenever he wants. He doesn't really get flustered all that much with the ball in his hands. And those are things that like you want to have around your young guys. You want to be able to show a Lonnie Walker who's having a rough night, to show him right in front of his face the proper way to go about a certain situation. You know what I mean? And or if it's Lonnie making a mistake out there, to have the guy who knows exactly what he should have done to be the first guy out there to grab him and say, hey, when you did this, you should do this next time. You know what I mean? And to me, it's more valuable to keep that kind of stuff. So I wasn't too worried about like the non-moves in that regard. I'm okay with the fact that, we're going to have a decent amount of cap room next year in order to build on what we got. And I guess my biggest thing is like for the people who were like pretty angry that we didn't like make this big thing to, I don't know. I feel like in their head, it's like we're in the middle, and I understand what people are saying. Like that's the worst place to be, which I would disagree with, because why would you want to be the 15th team in the West, like ever? You know what I mean? Like,
in a sense, it's the idea of having your direction.
Yes. Maybe you're right about that, but I would say that just if you're in the 8th seed, and let's say you're in the 8th seed for like 2 or 3 years in a row, I don't think that means you are lacking direction. You know what I mean? I think that you can. I think you can have those. You can have goals that you're working towards, and it just takes time to kind of work your way through. And my biggest like pushback would be like, let's say the Spurs got rid of Rudy and Patty. I mean, obviously, if they got rid of DeMar, that would mean something different. But if they got rid of like Rudy and Patty, but kept DeMar, like, do you think we're gonna tank down to the bottom of the West? I don't. I think if anything, we're maybe we land in like that 11 spot, that 10-11 spot or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like, so you're going to give up these pieces, and we're not going to drop as low as like you're hoping. You know what I mean? In my opinion,
it's just like I mean, look at a team like Orlando. They traded Dwight Howard, and they were in a little bit of turmoil for a little bit. They got Vooch, right? So then you see how their team has been. Like even though they were an 8th seed, maybe a 9th seed or something like that, like they were in the middle of the pack, and you would never see them look like they were going to get out of the first round of the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. And then that's where my biggest like thing is like when it comes to like our team, if I look at our young core, I would never say that about our young core. That they're going to be a team that young core is going to be a team that perpetually gets knocked out in the first round. I would say that we're better than that.
Yeah, and obviously that comes down to perspective of how much potential you think our guys have.
Yeah.
Because most people will not tell you that the Spurs young core is good enough to get out of the first round.
Yeah.
Most people, even Spurs fans, will tell you that this young team, while it does have potential, all of our guys are good. All of our guys look like they could become great.
Yeah.
Like it's just not good enough to become.
And I would agree with them maybe like this year, you know what I mean? But if I'm thinking about these guys progressing, I don't think that there's any indication that the group of guys that we have right now, that their ceiling is somewhere like a first round exit. You know what I mean? Like, and even then, I don't see that.
Not a first round, it's not it's not going to be a Western Conference winning. Like that's like what they're getting at. So
I get that too. You know what I mean? Because that is the ultimate goal, right? Is to try to get out of the West But again, just like when it comes to like when it comes to the moves that we're going to make, I think that we're going to be in a very good position to do a little bit of everything in terms of getting hopefully a a big talent. You know what I mean? We're gonna have money to do that. We didn't really have to give up. We didn't have to give up any of our young guys. Like our books look good for the foreseeable future in terms of the timelines of everybody's contracts. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that there's so much that is headed in a good direction that there is no reason to take steps forward. We already have, like you had mentioned on Twitter, like, what is our direction, right? Or something like that, right? And in my opinion, it was like our direction has been set. You know what I mean? We're headed that way already.
We're trying to make the playoffs.
Yeah, well, like that, and on top of that is like what the Spurs organization knows about our future, knows what our cap room is going to look like. No, you know what I mean? Like, they know the timetables of their young guards, and probably already like who and at what time they're going to start to offer extensions and all that kind of stuff. Like, that they have all that shit planned out. You know what I mean? So I wasn't freaking out too much about the non-movements. You know what I mean? Although, it's fun. It's fun I'm pretty new to Twitter overall, so it was fun to see all the action as it's coming through, and everybody's reacting to this, to Woj tweet his things and Shams over here and all that kind of stuff. And, and so I can see how, as a Spurs fan, you want to partake in the action. You want to be part of that fun, and you want to make those big splashes, and you want somebody to be like, oh, dang, the Spurs got them. That actually could make them do this. I understand like the want to be into that, conversation, but at the same time, there's many ways to skin a cat, as the phrase goes, right? So it's like, there's many ways to get into the playoffs. There's many ways to make a splash in the playoffs. There's many ways to grab the attention of somebody who doesn't look at you maybe all the time. You know what I mean? And go ahead.
I definitely get what you mean. And obviously, like, a bunch of the Spurs fans, they look at the rest of the NBA, and they see how we just do things differently. We're not a team that makes trades. We do things traditionally. We draft our players, and if people leave, then they leave. But if not, we continue to keep building with them.
Yeah, and you can call that, the words that I heard over the past couple of days was bad asset management and this and that, right? But the Spurs have historically, at least in the modern Spurs era, they don't, maybe they try not to treat their people like assets, and they try to treat them like people. You know what I mean? And maybe people management is a little bit different than asset management. You know what I mean? And yes, do we overpay, and do we have consequences for those? Yeah, we do. Look at the Pau Gasol. Look at the, you know what I mean? Like, those kind of things. They come back to bite us a little bit. And I had mentioned this, like, when you did that locker room talk last week or whenever that was. But it's like, we had to pay some prices to let Tim Duncan retire the way he wanted to let Manu Ginobili, to let Tony Parker. You know what I mean? Like, we had to. Especially like Tony Parker, we didn't even really give Tony Parker everything that he really wanted. He wanted to keep playing to a certain number of years. We cut his career short by telling him, no, you can't do that here. So he went to Charlotte, and then his role got diminished there too. So he just left. You know what I mean? Like, but those are the things that you do in as payment for the things that we got from them, prior, right? All the winning and all the this and all the culture that we talk about, that's all there because of those dudes and because of what the work that they put in, right? So in my opinion, it's like, right now we're in that same kind of thing, but with Popovich, you know what I mean? And it's like, literally, man, the guy just became the third coach in NBA history to reach 1,300 wins today against the Bulls. And you owe him, in my opinion. You let him and his team and everybody set himself and that organization up for whatever future, and you let him wind down the team the way that he sees fit, because that's just how it goes, in my opinion. Some people are real quick to be like, nope, any organization would cut past that. You know what I mean? They wouldn't be so sentimental about those things, because they know for the better of their organization that taking one step back means I can take 5 steps forward. Like, and okay, that's just, I don't think that's how we do it, and that's cool.
And honestly, I feel like that kind of shows like in a sense, like, the potential that we have once we move on. Not that we have to move, or not. What am I trying to get here? Like, once we do get away from the Timmy, Pop, Tony, Manu era, once we get out of that, because it all ends as soon as Pop retires. and then we build up with the.
I mean,
with the
okay,
future.
there will, but I mean, there will be things. Obviously, there'll be things that another head coach does that's going to be different than Pop does, or another GM. But I mean,
we're still going to have the same core values. I don't think our team. I don't think our front office. I don't think anybody, especially with how long Pop has been in the front office, he's influenced everybody enough to make everybody, have a certain way of how we do things. Like when we do get our new head coach, I feel like it is going to be between Becky Hammond and between Mr. Hardy. I don't remember his first name.
It would definitely have to be whoever ends up replacing him. Is I think the first replacement, for him is gonna have to be somebody that's heavy on the culture of like, we have to keep this going. I mean, like I think that's a whole reason, like why Tim Duncan came back and did that assisting gig. You know what I mean? Speaking of like having, building those relationships in that way, we let we allowed Tim Duncan to be on the roster and to retire the way he wanted to. And then on the flip side of that is, hey, we need you to come back because we're really trying to keep this culture afloat as we are going through this crazy transition period that we've never been in before. You know what I mean? Or we haven't been in a really, really long time. So he comes back and he helps us in a different way. You know what I mean? So it's like you don't have those kind of relationships with every team. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so
I don't think you see Kevin Garnett. Obviously, Kevin Garnett's one of the only people that actually, he tried to get ownership of the Timberwolves, but he wasn't able to, right? If I can get a different example, you don't see Shaq like trying to help out the Lakers. You don't see.
You see some of it, right? I mean, Sean Marks is all over, and or even just like, I don't know, like Steve Nash and D'Antoni, like that kind of thing. So like you do see like those relationships, but I mean, I just feel like the Spurs have their way of doing those things, and not only has it been successful in terms of producing wins, but it's been successful in producing so much more outside of the basketball court. And so, in my opinion, that is like where you see the extensions of them get bled into, like how they treat their players when it comes to their contracts and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And if it kind of ruins like how you feel that exact timeline needs to go, hey man, they're the ones that actually have to pull the trigger on those decisions and live with them. And so if they're willing to do it, they've built up enough goodwill in my eyes to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I was saying all that just to say that, like, when we do start to get a little bit more free in that sense, and like, cause like you said, we're doing things to make the guys that have been with us for the last 20 years happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. But if you're saying that like when he leaves that like
rebuild.
No, I know, but if you're implying that like and I guess that there are certain things that might be like hindrances that we're just having to live with right now that might not be there anymore when Pop leaves, right?
That's literally all I'm saying is like, like in a sense, and I'm not even talking about like the game plan because I know our brother Josh talks a lot of not liking like Pop's rotations and stuff like that, right? Like, but I'm just saying like in the sense of like, Luke, a guy like Luke is just not getting those minutes because we're trying to compete, so we're not looking to develop a guy on the court right now. We're looking to keep guys like Rudy Gay out there getting those minutes. And sometimes Rudy Gay is being less impactful than somebody like Luka could be on the court, but just because Rudy's the vet and we're trying to win games, we're keeping Rudy out there, instead of being a little bit more experimental, whereas like you would see a team give a guy like Luka Samanic a chance on the court because Rudy Gay is not hitting his shots,
Yeah.
And that's literally, sorry about that. I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's literally like
no.
That's literally all I'm saying. For like when Pop retires, we'll be a little bit more free to do those kind of things, to have those decisions. And I'm not even saying making those big decisions. I don't think, if Pop wasn't in our front office right now, I don't think we would have traded DeMar at all. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying anything drastic like that, but maybe we do trade Rudy for a first rounder or two second round picks. You know what I mean? Like maybe we do make that trade, just something small on that, not necessarily small end, because Rudy is a big impact for our team as a whole, but something to kind of move forward. Like to keep the young people, the young core, still building in that sense.
Yeah, and I would just probably say that in their opinion, or I can't speak for them, but it looks like they maybe see things a little bit like the way I see it, which is we are still developing our young guys by having veteran presence around them. And even if that means that sometimes the veterans get the minutes, then that's the way that's fine. You know what I mean? That's just the way that things go sometimes. You know what I mean? And over the course of the year, if things go the way that if you're a coaching staff, if things go the way that you plan them and they're 100% perfect, you have minutes to give those, you have minutes to give Luka, even though you have Rudy Gay still, because if you're doing things the right way, well, you're putting certain teams away early. You're having certain matchups where you're allowing your young guys to come in. Maybe you start to schedule some back-to-back rests for Rudy Gay, knowing that you can bring in Luka. So a coaching staff probably, they don't just scheme. How can we give Luka 0 minutes today? You know what I mean? Like that's not really like how they go about doing their thing. It's just the way that it's flowing, as game to game goes and all that kind of stuff. Like right now, we saw Vassell kind of tweak his ankle. Boom, already that's Luka's spot now. Like Luka's going to be getting a lot more minutes if he can't suit up for the next couple games, or even if he just has to miss one game. It's like, okay, good. Now here you go. You know what I mean? Now is an opportunity that popped up. What are we going to make of it? Let's see what you got. You know what I mean? So
you didn't have to
I'm okay.
Devin tweaking his ankle though.
I know. Because he had some good stuff going on tonight too. All right, Jake. Well, we've been at it for about an hour and 20 already. You want to kind of quickly just jump into? I mean, we did kind of want to talk about a little bit just about like how you feel our roster, is going to be moving forward. We can kind of I don't know. You want to skip past that and do some previews? You want to finish on this roster? How you feel about it? And maybe we, how do you want to handle this part?
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that Josh was here so that we could, have all three of us have our say, like, full say of like what we feel about this roster and stuff. Especially because like, now we really are in the second half of the season. This is exactly, this is the roster we're going in to the final push for whether or not we're going to be a playoff team, whether or not we're going to be a lottery team. And so for me, it's like, I still think this probably going to be a lottery team. I think, these couple games have shown that when we are falling apart, it's hard for us to get back together. It is hard for us to get those to come full together and be able to make good pushes, and so I don't think this team is absolutely ready to be making playoff pushes. And maybe we get in as a 10th seed play in, and if we're doing that, well then I can't exactly like I'm not upset if we make the playoffs, but like if we make the 10th seed playing game and get in as an 8th seed because we won a playing game, well, I'm like, I still feel like that kind of coincides with just like we just weren't strong enough to make the first 8 seeds, So that's the only thing for me. And that at the end of the day, that kind of depends on record. If we're playing against a team like Portland, like a team that is constantly fighting for like those 6th, 7th, 8th seeds, if we're fighting against a team like them in the playing game, well then it's not exactly as like I'm like, we beat them and I'm like, yeah, we deserve that win. But like there's just like a couple teams where it's like maybe we I can't really think of a team on the top of my head, but like,
well, I mean, if you're talking about the Spurs being a bubble team or a play-in team, we've been hovering around Memphis, Golden State, Dallas, and And then like I said before, there is like a jump going from that 7 to the 6 spot. There's a little bit of a jump. So I mean, but most likely what we're looking at for that play-in game is San Antonio, Dallas, Memphis, Golden State, possibly. I mean, we still have time in the season, so I want to count, like the Pelicans or the Kings out. They're only a game and a half behind Memphis for that 10 spot. So I mean, it could happen. It could happen. So I mean, that's the thing though, is like, I don't know, man. I feel like we're better than most of those teams.
Mhm.
And so like that's what I would say. Like, when it comes to like our roster makeup for the second half, I know that our schedule's pretty tough, but at the same time, I feel like if last year we were like inconsistent, but we were falling short more often than not, I think this year we're inconsistent, but we're falling on the right side more often than not. You know what I mean? Like we're just winning more games overall than last year. So it kind of like Josh had said before, like not in such of the pointed at you, but I think it was like our very first episode of HHC where he had said like, so you think that we're gonna be better than last year, we're gonna win more games than last year, but we're gonna miss the playoffs, right? And so and not that I'm aiming that question at you, but in my head I'm already starting to think kind of the same thing, which is like I think that now that we've seen us play, we are still pretty inconsistent. We have some pretty terrible outings sometimes, but I think that for the most part, we get on the right side of things. And so I think that we're going to be just in a higher position than last year, in my opinion. You know what I mean? So I think, and that's why I've always been so like whatever, or maybe against the idea of blowing like our team up, is because I'm like, even if we were to get rid of all of our vets and just get like some more younger pieces or whatever, I feel like we're still going to be fighting for like the 9-10 spot. Like I don't see us dropping down to 13-14. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I get what you mean
so I honestly, like I think moving forward, I think we're going to be right in that mix. I think it is going to be a tough schedule, and there could be some potential for us to kind of push down into that 9-10 spot. But at the same time, Dallas has been, I would say, almost as inconsistent as we have. They started the year really bad, then they picked it up towards the middle, and then since then they've kind of been a little hot and cold. And then on top of that, they've been kind of resting their players a little bit, like Porzingis and Luka. So I mean, they might just be losing games by proxy. You know what I mean? By doing that, by just resting some of their dudes. So I don't know, man. Like I see us staying afloat above like a lot of these like 11 and down. And with Mavericks, if they're playing a little bit more consistent, the Lakers are going to be without LA and AD. Not to say that they're going to slip all the way out of the hunt, but just like those little like nagging injuries and stuff like that. Like I feel like it's going to make the playing field just get tighter and tighter. So
yeah,
I could see us being in the mix, is what I'm trying to say, all the way to the rest of the year.
And going back to the first episode, the one of my main points for saying like, yes, we're going to get better, but we're not going to make the playoffs, was that there's just other teams that are just better.
Yeah. And I remember you saying that too.
And so like I go back to like, even though OKC is not going to be in the playoffs this year, well, now you got Phoenix. Even though I'm trying to think of another team that like shouldn't be in the playoffs. I feel like that was the only team that like isn't in the playoff hunt this year that made the playoffs last year. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and Houston.
And Houston, right? But, all right. So even though
that's Houston is kind of like we kind of like took Houston's spot.
Yeah, Houston's that one open spot that everybody's trying to fight for, right? Other than that, you still have the Lakers, you still have the Clippers, you still have Denver, you still have who else? Utah, and then like I mean, you're still seeing teams like Portland, Dallas, freaking Golden State now. Like you're still seeing those teams, even though I feel like I could say that our team's better than all three of them. There's still just going to be those pushes where you never know whenever we're not going to make those pushes and they are going to make those pushes.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was getting at though, is like, even though
we're on those
if you
winning
just
sides, and I
even
get what you
yeah
mean there.
and even though if you just stare at our schedule, you look and you see like there's a lot of tough teams, man, but
Mhm.
we've had good showings versus good teams this year. We've
Yeah.
beaten good teams this year, so it's like the strength of the schedule doesn't like bother me as much. Just so many years of hearing Pop and talk about like we worry about us versus worrying
Hmm.
about them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I always tend to think about it from that point of view, is like, what can we do to beat them versus what do they have that is able to beat us? Uh,
Hmm.
um, but yeah, so I mean, I think I don't think that any move was gonna push us, like you were saying, make a move to make us like take a step forward. I don't really know if there was a move out there that was gonna move us forward like in that way. You know what I mean? I think again, and maybe there was, but I don't think that. I think at that point it starts to go away from the plan that they have for, like I
Yeah.
said, the way that their books go and the money and all that kind of stuff. So I think they just had a plan already. You know what I mean? And
And
trading
they
and
and
doing.
they just, not necessarily that they were afraid, but they just weren't willing to compromise anything. And I
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe in a different world, maybe
But
LeMarcus Aldridge doesn't request or like maybe we don't make that decision weeks ago where we weren't going to play him. Maybe this whole time we had been trying him out on the bench and we made a deal for him at some point. But different
uh,
world, I guess.
and
So
and I guess at that point though, the only time we can start to see whether or not this season at least was like very much not worth it is when we hit free agency. What are our moves going to be in free agency? Because I feel like that's exactly what our team's looking at is next year. We're not. I mean, even if we are looking at playoffs this year, you know what I mean. I feel like next year is the year that we are looking to make our moves. There's no
yeah,
reason why we wouldn't be looking to make our move. If we weren't looking to make our moves, if we were looking to make our moves this year, we would have traded LA for somebody better. We would have traded our
yeah,
assets to get somebody better and get somebody who's going to be on our cap for the next couple of years. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
But we're not. So we have to make moves next year, and that's why I'm not looking at this year as and I don't think anybody's looking at it as at make or break for playoffs and stuff like that. Like if you don't make playoffs, it's an unsuccessful year.
yeah.
But um,
But if you but
but
if you know that your goals are to make some moves next year, then it behooves you to be a better team than a worse team. You know what I mean? Like I said last
yeah,
week, like
I
it's
get
it's
what
it-
you're saying.
it's easier to convince if our route is the free agency route, well, it's easier to convince somebody to come here when it's look what we are able to do with these young guys. We
Mm-hmm.
made the playoff push. This is how we're looking to fit you in and take us to the next level versus, like I said last week, hey, we're coming in, we have all these young guys, but when you look at our track record, we lost in the first round to Denver with these young guys. We didn't make the playoffs for the next 2 years with these young guys. I feel like that's a way, not grimmer, but it's a way easier pitch to show that progression of hey, look how we're starting to develop all this young core. We didn't make the playoffs that one year in the middle. We did, we did make the bubble and all that kind of shit. And I just feel like it's a different picture. So yeah, I agree. I think we make we strive for the playoffs, and we hope, or not we hope, but we do our due diligence in trying to get our name out there and put the
Mm-hmm.
money in the right places and offer it to the right people and have a better team for next year. So
Yeah, and
go ahead.
I guess the last thing for me to say is like obviously with this roster makeup, I'm not telling us not to push for playoffs. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
not my mindset. I would never say don't push for playoffs right now. But I'm on the side of and not necessarily saying that I'm realistic, but for me, my realistic thing is saying we can push for playoffs, but I just don't think we're gonna make it. That's
Yeah.
literally all I mean by that.
Yeah.
It does, and there's nothing for me to say like, oh, we're not making playoffs because I think that these guys are just not that good. No, I think our guys are good. It's just not. I feel like it's just not in the cards at the moment, and that's literally all
I think that our projections are pretty much exactly where they were at the beginning of the year because
Mm-hmm.
it's the exact same thing. I can see us going we would have to work really hard to push up into like that 6-5. We were competing for that 6 seed for a good while, and
Yeah, we were.
but you know that COVID thing really derailed us. So I mean, I think I can see us anywhere between that 7 to 10 spot. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But I have a feeling though we're gonna be in that play in
Yeah,
picture, playoff
and that is
picture. You know what I
definitely
mean?
the big thing is like I couldn't see us getting hit by like 11 and 12, honestly. Like that's hard for me to say we're going to be at the 11 and 12, even though I am saying it, even though I'm saying I think we're not making playoffs this year. I honestly would see us be that 10 seed, but I don't think we'd win the game, That's
Yeah,
the one thing that I'll tell you is a playing game. That's like the worst thing for us because we don't
yeah,
do good in one
I
game
know.
scenario.
Yeah, and
Like,
that's we've talked about that on this show too before. Like I definitely don't like the idea of having to play a Warriors team in a one game take all kind of situation. You know what I mean?
exactly. Like
Uh,
that's
or
my worst
the
fear.
Mavericks, you know what I mean? Like I mean I think we can handle Memphis, although like we just play kind of sloppy when we play Memphis too. So you know
Hmm.
I agree. Like I still think that realistically we should be looking for that 6 seed. I mean it's gonna be tough because like I said, Portland and Denver, who are tied at 27 and 18, you know they've gotten better. Maybe we get lucky. Maybe we get lucky and the Lakers start losing even more games with their two guys out. And I don't know. Maybe we can slide all the way there. You know, maybe they. I could see, let's see, 5.5 games all the way to 10. So we're down. We're down by 4.5 games to the Lakers. Can we make up 4.5 games before AD and
Brian
LeBron
AD
come?
come back.
Who knows? You
I,
know what I mean? Doubt. I mean, I doubt we would be able to pass them up. But if we can approach April and May, or specifically like towards the end of the year with some of those things already like in place, some short term goals of like, hey, we have a shot at the 6 seed. Let's see if we can really push for it. I think that would be those are the things that I'm looking for as we're going towards the second half, right? Like you said, even if we don't end up going to those goals, I think we should have some goals. Let's shoot for the 6 seed. If that starts to slip away, okay, we're focusing on this play-in tournament thing and how are we going to navigate our way through that? Okay, good. Let's get through that. Okay, good. Let's get into this first round. Let's see what we can do. Like, you know,
mhm.
it'll be fun. It'll be fun. All right, Jake. Do you want to talk about the previews real quick? Let's. I don't want to. I don't want to blast
Yeah,
through them too fast, but I also
want to blast through them pretty fast
I'm
because
all. But it's late. It's
it's
midnight.
late at night. I'm getting kind of tired. Let's kind of get through these.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I
So
mean, it's a continuation of our homestand. We got to win tonight in Chicago. So our goal as we approach this 2-game stint with Sacramento is to just keep building, right? So
yeah, for sure. And like you said, it's gonna be 2 games stint against Sacramento. Obviously, this team isn't crazy. They got Mezzi, right? Former Spur, Mezzi Metu. Um, but I mean, they have been kind of killer these last couple games, and they do. They're Sacramento at the end of the day. They're the biggest questions for Sacramento isn't exactly the talent on their team because they have talent on their team. They have their rookie Tyrese Halliburton, De'Aaron Fox. Um, Marvin Bagley needs to become healthy for once in his life, and then you could
mhm.
say that he's a solid piece to their team. Harrison Barnes is overpaid, but he's still not bad.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Buddy Hield, I think he's actually having like a down season. 4-3 doesn't sound bad, but I'm pretty sure he's getting paid like 20 plus million.
yeah.
So
Has
that's
Harkless
not.
suited up for them yet or no?
No, I don't believe so. Which
Oh.
he should be suiting up for them by the time we play
Yeah,
them.
I would
Um,
say so.
and then they also have, if I'm not mistaken, Chris Silva right here. So he's another just a younger player for them, right?
Yeah.
But they have talent on their team. Oh, another person, Robert Woodard, who might not look good here. He was killer in the G League when he played for us. He was killer in
Yeah, yeah,
in the
that
G
is
League
true.
stint.
That is
So
true.
it'll be fun to see if he gets some PT against us. and see what he does. But this team in general, they're not crazy. Oh, I remember seeing this. Terrence Davis, he was a Raptor, got traded for a second round pick because I believe they were trying to make a trade for the Lakers. They were trying to trade Lowry to the Lakers, so they were trying to open up roster spots, but they just couldn't get that deal through. And so you see those little mid-season things, as well as DeLon Wright. He was actually, if I'm not mistaken, DeLon Wright was like the first trade before the trade deadline day happened. And it was pretty cool to see that. Like, DeLon Wright was the one that like kind of started it off. He just got traded here.
That is true.
He got traded for Corjo and like a second round pick, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's pretty cool. It's this, like I said, this team's, their talent is not what's holding them back. It is their front office. And I couldn't tell you if Luke Walton's a bad coach, because I don't watch enough Sacramento games to tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what everybody says. Everybody says that Luke Walton's not a great coach, and I don't think their front office is that good by just the decisions that they made. So you should be able to kind of just tell that, like, this team shouldn't be a team that we should struggle against. But as you can see, their last 5 have not been bad. This is the game that I don't know if it's still going on or not. I doubt it, but this was the game against Cleveland they just played, and this is De'Aaron Fox's like latest stat lines.
Yeah, the Sacramento Kings, they ended up winning by 2 points against Cleveland.
By 2 points, exactly. So
and you ended with 36 points for De'Aaron Fox.
Yep. So De'Aaron Fox has been on a killer tear. They've 4-game win streak now, if you can see by that. And so he had, let's see if I can kind of scroll enough to where I can see. Yeah, he had 36 and 6 with 2 steals in that first game. Then he comes the next game, 37, 2 and 2, or 2 and 3, sorry. And then he comes in against Golden State, 44, 2 and 7, and finally this game, 36, 4 and 5. Like, De'Aaron Fox has been on a killer tear recently, and it's been kind of nasty. But like, it's Sacramento at the end of the day. I don't know about you, but I'll never be scared of Sacramento.
It's funny. Like, we were talking earlier, and it's like part like that's what I was saying. Part of the reason that we started this channel and wanted to like put our discussions online anyway is just because we feel like a lot of times our organization gets passed over, right? And so trying like not to be like that with the other teams, but it's true, man. Like, just like you said, it's like, no, I'm not afraid. I'm not when you see Sacramento on the and it's unfortunately it's just because of reputation. It's because we've seen a lot of talent come and go through their organization, but we've seen a lot of disorganization that surrounds those great players. So I mean, on the flip side of that, we've had many times this year somebody come in and just burn the crap out of us, and sometimes our guys are up for the challenge of being able to withstand that, and sometimes they're not. You know what I mean? So not to take these guys lightly by any means. Especially we're not very consistent right now either. We've been winning more games, and that's because we have a lot more stability, but we have a lot of inconsistencies as well. They were pretty balanced tonight. Halliburton with 13, Fox 36, Holmes 10, Hield 10, Harrison Barnes 16. And that's the Spurs are at their best when we kind of spread the wealth that way as well. So, we'll be looking to do the same things it looks like that they're doing, which spread the ball around, let their guards kind of lead the way. It did get, I did see Harkless did get 12 minutes tonight, so he's in now.
Oh yeah, see, so I mean, I like all the players on this Sacramento team. There's nobody that I don't like on this team, because they're all young guys, all guys that have hopefully promising futures, especially Metu, so it's like I just want to see this team succeed. But
I want to see Drew Eubanks put Metu on a poster.
Oh my God, you're the worst, man.
That would be so funny.
I remember the last couple of years of just like wanting to see Metu on the court instead of Drew Eubanks, and this was before we could see like the talent difference between the two.
Yeah.
Because like in my mind, I'm like, well, why would you play an undrafted guy who hasn't been able to, who hasn't proved himself that much, instead of your second round draft pick, the guy that you're trying to develop this guy. Your undrafted guy is a guy that like, yes, you're developing him, but you're developing him in your bubble. You're not, like you've got a second round draft pick. Develop the second round draft pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And obviously now, just like I love Drew. So it's not like I'm not hurting over the fact that Metu is not on our team anymore.
Same. You could see it after a while. It's like his game kind of stayed the same. He didn't really get a lot bigger, and he plays a little bit of that traditional big kind of game, but he's not that big. Real quick on the IR, so we had Hassan Whiteside was listed as day-to-day, and he was ruled out for today's game against the Cavaliers. So he didn't play today, but he's listed as day-to-day. So may or may not get some Hassan Whiteside, by next week when we see him. Ramsey was out, and then Bagley is getting reevaluated in 4 weeks from March 18th. So.
Yep.
So I think on a hand injury. So,
yep.
We have to. It's just the exact same thing that we said. We need to start to build on some of the good things that we did against Chicago. We gotta be really active on the outside. We gotta make sure we're talking to each other. Another great test for our guards to see, what can they do to kind of hold Fox down a little bit. Fox and Halliburton, because Halliburton, I don't watch college basketball, but this is a guy who's been popping up just because he makes a lot of real, he's got good handles. He can shoot the ball. He's the NBA is starting to show him more and more. And it's because he's putting some good work out there too. So I mean, like exactly like you said, they have a lot of pieces. It's can we do our jobs and holding them down? You know what I mean? But and then also on top of that, another 2-game stint. So a good chance to see, are we going to be able to make any kind of adjustments? We didn't really do too much different between our first and our second game of the Clippers. So this is another chance for us to see, okay, if it goes well, can you keep it well? If it how can we handle these seeing your opponents twice in a row kind of things? Those are the things that are going to the habits that we want to build. If you're trying to, if your goal is to make the playoffs, well, you're going to be seeing that same opponent, four times at the minimum. So,
definitely going to need to be to be able to beat Sacramento all 4 times within this week and the next week, just because they're a team that, like you said, we're going to be fighting for that playing seed, and if they have a chance to get into that playing seed, we have got to beat them.
Yeah, exactly. Especially because the teams that are right next to us, like Dallas owns a tiebreaker over us at this moment. You know what I mean? Like,
Golden State owns a tiebreaker over us.
Like, yeah, exactly. So we got to take these opportunities where we can get them. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I want to give them their proper respect, and then I want to smash them like at the same time. So
exactly.
All right. So we have those 2 games with Sacramento, and then we're moving on to Atlanta, correct?
For sure. And this is another team that I, want to, like you said, give your respect to. You got somebody like Trae Young, an addition in Lou Will, and then like Clint Capella, John Collins, these guys that are good talent. I know DeAndre Hunter has been a very good standout for them, averaging 16, 5, and 2 for them right now. But this is a team that I really need us just to come in and take care of business, especially after this last week. We have teams, at least 2 out of the 3 teams that we're battling this week, we should beat on a good level. There shouldn't be a team that should give us a hard problem to deal with, Obviously their standout is Trae Young, and they have a good team, they have good talent, good young talent to keep building around. But this isn't the year for them. So this is the year. This is the time that we take advantage of the fact that their guys just aren't fully developed right now.
Yeah.
And
we did a decent job last time we played them. It was 125 to 114. Spurs got the win, and it was pretty good distribution. Keldon Johnson with 20, DeMar with 23, Yak with 14, DeJounte with 16, Derek White with 11, Patty Mills with 12, Lonnie Walker with 11. So that it was a good job for spreading the ball around. Let's see what they had. Trae Young with 25, Skylar Mays with 20 points, Brandon Goodwin with 13, Clint Capella with 14. And that's kind of it. We held Collins to only 9 points. So like that's probably going to be our game plan again. Is all right. Can we try to hold one or two of their guys and then spread the wealth on our end?
Mm-hmm. For sure. And I mean, like, I just kind of want to go over their last 5. They're currently on a game winning streak, right? Mm-hmm. But you can see like Trae Young's been Trae Young. They. One night where he only gets 14, but the rest of them are 20 plus, and he's got 11 assists, 8 assists, 9 assists, 15 assists right here. So it's like, he's been killing it. Obviously, there are those couple of flashes, right, where he had his 14. He didn't make a single three. Right here, he had 16% on 1 for 6 shooting, 1 for 7 shooting, 2 for 6 shooting. So his shooting splits aren't the prettiest at the moment, but he's still Trae Young. He can still drop 40 on us if we give it to him,
Yeah.
And so I think those are the things that we kind of got to look out for, is just to see if like we got to make sure that we can contain as much as we can. Maybe not stop, maybe not shut down, but if we can contain him, get him to have a 1 for 6, 1 for 7 night from the 3-point line.
Yeah,
that's a win for us. That's a game that we can easily take.
It's a tough order. I mean, because on the flip side, if you take him, if you try to take away his shooting, he's still a great playmaker. I mean, even like yesterday. So I'm looking here, their last game against the Golden State Warriors. You get a guy like John Collins. Well, he goes off for 38 points. You know what I mean? 38 and 12. So I mean, 18 and 15. When you get 18 and 15 from Clint Capella and 38 and 12 from John Collins, I mean, that's a strong performance from your interior. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So, and that's something that we don't have good interior presence for. So
yeah,
it'll be tough.
It'll be a good test. I love it. I'm loving all these different looks that we're getting. Lou Williams did not play, or sorry, he's already ruled out against the Nuggets for tomorrow, for Sunday. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be today. But so Lou Williams won't be there tomorrow, but he might be there. He's gonna be there by the time the Spurs play. Chris Dunn was ruled out for tomorrow's game with an ankle, so that may or may not. I'm not sure if he's day to day or what. Yeah, I would say that would probably be a good thing to label him questionable. DeAndre Hunter also day to day, and is questionable for tomorrow's game. So that's another one. Like it could go either way in terms of when they play the Spurs. And then Cam Reddish is out 4 to 6 weeks. Mid-March was when that started. So nobody like super big. Lou Williams will be back. I mean, he'll be there. But yeah, they're going to be, they got their own goals that they're working on right now, and things that they're trying to accomplish for their team too. So it's literally same exact thing that I said for the Kings, which is
give them respect.
Yeah.
Squash them.
Exactly. That's what I want, and they're a mid, they're a 6th seed. They're doing their thing in the East, but I mean, I anticipate us having good discipline again, execute. Like I liked a lot of what we saw tonight against Chicago. So I mean, you be able to manage the flow of the game a little bit better and maybe stop that big hit from happening a little sooner so that it just doesn't last as long. And now you don't have to bleed your starters all the way into the fourth. You know what I mean? Like I'm hoping that we can just make little adjustments like that, moving off of the Bulls.
And this will be a back-to-back, by the way. Just kind of note, we play Sacramento. We'll play Sacramento at the beginning of the week, then we'll play them again. But then that's a back-to-back playing Sacramento into Atlanta.
Yeah. So it's Monday Sacramento, and then Wednesday Thursday is the Sacramento Atlanta, right?
Yeah, and so then it is a homestand, so we are still home every night, but it's still back-to-back, and even so. That's still always going to be questionable for me this season, especially.
Yeah, and especially because it could be a thing of like, hey, Pop says, hey, the so and so's not playing today, GJ's not playing tonight. You know what I mean? We've already seen it this year, so it could happen. Things could just whatever.
And we're all hoping to see Lonnie come back soon. Like that's the one thing that I'm excited to see is once Lonnie comes in, let's see what our full lineup looks like healthy. Obviously, Devin won't be in. But I think Luka will be able to kind of hold down those minutes and still produce around the same that Devin was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it'll be interesting to see what our team looks like into this next week, especially because we need to come out and get these wins if we're going to be making our playoff pushes.
Yes.
And so then we'll go ahead and get into this next game, this final game of the week, which is going to be against Indiana. Another playoff team, another solid team. They're notable players: Sabonis, Harris LeVert, and my particular favorite player on this team, Miles Turner. He's not having a crazy stat stuffing year, but I guess I can't. Actually, I got you. Show it. Man's averaging 3.5 blocks a game. He's kind of the defensive anchor, right? A guy that I would have loved to have traded for within like the last couple of years. I don't honestly don't care what we would have given up for him because I feel like he is killer. He's an amazing defensive presence. He has a solid enough jumper that's respectable. So he's a guy that I love Miles Turner. Very excited to see him. I didn't even mention Malcolm Brogdon because he's such a quiet presence on their team. He's killer too, So it'll be fun to see this entire team coming up, especially because Caris LeVert, even though he just got traded a while back, he'd just coming off an injury, not necessarily an injury. It was actually like a mass in his knee, if I'm not mistaken. And so now he's barely coming back in, but this will finally be a good bit into his comeback. So maybe he might have fit into the offense a little bit better. And it'll be interesting to see what we can do going up against another team. I feel like this is a team quite like ours, but they're just older, a team full of guys that are good enough, really solid players. Malcolm Brogdon, Caris LeVert, Domantas Sabonis. Sabonis is an all-star, right? And Miles Turner, as well as somebody like TJ Warren, but TJ Warren's not playing. He, if I'm not mistaken, he's out for the rest of the year.
Yeah. TJ Warren out the rest of the season, and then in terms of their IR, the only other guy they have is Doug McDermott is listed as day-to-day, and that's it.
Okay. See, so I mean, like I said, this is a team that I feel like just like ours, have a young core that's good. They're just older, so they're a little bit more developed than our guys,
Yeah.
And I think it's gonna be fun to see what we do against them. Just to kind of show off Sabonis, their all-star, his last little couple stats. As you can see, they're 4 for 5 in the last 5, and Sabonis is killer. He is very killer. Freaking, even though this is only 13, 15, and 4, that's a good stat line. On 45% shooting, that's solid enough for somebody to get a win, Yeah. 17 and 11. This isn't as pretty because it's on 38%, but it's still, I mean, like you get a win out of it. So you have to assume that somebody else was able to pick up what he was, what else that he was throwing down, right? Yeah. And you see 22, 9, and 6 on 52% shooting. Like those are all-star numbers, man. Like this, the kind of stuff that we're going to be looking to see from him. This game right here, which was 22, 15, and 5 on 33% from three. Like, you're going to have to be respecting the jumper, even though you see that he wasn't making these threes. At least he's taking those threes. You know what I mean? And that's something that, like, not many centers / bigs in the NBA are going to be doing. It's going to be something that stretches. He's stretching the floor. He's opening it up to have people like Malcolm Brogdon, Karis LeVert drive.
Yeah, and you mentioned like those games where he is not hitting them. Well, in these 5 games, they won 4 out of them. They're 4 out of the last 5. So it's not even like they are relying on him. We need you to hit these threes, but his willingness to do it is just a plus. And then if he's hitting them, that's an even a bigger plus. So yeah, I mean, we're gonna have our hands full, especially like you had mentioned, like kind of making some comparisons to their team and ours. It's one of those games where you feel like we're gonna have to go and kind of earn this game. It's gonna be a hard fought game.
Exactly.
So it looking forward to the challenge, man. This is definitely like, I don't know what, like when we played against like Milwaukee, that's one of those ones where it's like, all right, I want to compete. I want to show that we're doing good things. And I hope that we give ourselves a chance to win the game. When it comes to the Pacers, it's like, I feel like we can take that to the next level, which is like, let's show the good things that we do. Let's acknowledge that it's gonna be a hard fought game, but let's go and beat them. Like what I mean? Like versus like, I just want to be competitive against like a good solid team. Let's go and beat these guys. Like this is one of those like mid tier teams that would be a good win for us. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And so like this is gonna be my go-to matchup this week is like, I'm going to be paying attention the most to this game. This is going to be the game that I'm like, all right, let's see what we do. If we lose to a team like Sacramento, lose to Atlanta, I'm like, I'll be mad because those are games that we should be winning. But, like maybe there's some unforeseen circumstance that's like, all right, let's just move on because this is the game that I want to focus on. This is the game that I want. Hopefully both teams will be nearly 100% healthy. Obviously, not having TJ Warren is going to hurt them in terms of their depth, but still, both teams nearly healthy and being able to compete for a full game. Let's see what we can do against a team like this.
Yeah.
Because for me, this is a team that I already said it. This is a team that I could compare this overall team to our team and just say that they're just older. They're just older, so maybe their talent isn't as good, but because they're older, they're going to be a little bit more refined than our guys are. So let's see how we do against that.
Yeah, and they do have a little bit of some, even though they have like a lot of like they've had some new players, but they still have like some cohesion. You know what I mean? Like they have an identity. They're not as brand new as some of these other teams are. So, you know what I mean? We benefit a lot of the times throughout the year because of our cohesion and the lack of moves that we do. And they're a little bit on that, most of the moves that they've done came like, the year before or whatever. So, they have a unit, more so than some of the other teams. So yeah, man, this will be a good test. Let's see. So it's another 4 games. We can't. Yeah, I don't want to come back saying that we went 1-3 again.
For sure. We can go ahead and just get some quick predictions in. Yeah. I would assume if I'm a betting man, Josh is going to tell us 4-0. I'm not going to put him on here, but I'm just gonna.
If I were to guess, let's make our guesses because he'll tell us exactly what it is later.
Yeah.
Would you really say 4-0 for Josh?
I would say Josh would say 4-0. I feel like Josh would say 4-0.
Between the 2 Sacramento, the Atlanta, and the Indiana, I would say 3-1 for him.
I feel like Josh would say 4-0 because he just like us, how we were saying,
like we should beat
you could respect Sacramento and still beat them. I feel like he would say that for Sacramento. Then obviously I think Atlanta is a little bit better than Sacramento, but I feel like he'd say the same thing for Atlanta. And then even though me and you were talking a little bit higher of Indiana, I don't think he'd think the same way. I feel like he would say that, oh, our team's just better than theirs, and we'd be able to compete with them, and be better. And he would say 4-0 for the week. That's how I feel he would say.
So I would say 3-1. I'm going to say 3-1. For mainly for a lot of the reasons, like you said, Josh would go 4-0 in the sense that if I'm just looking at it from the point of view of the opponents, I think we need to handle our business. But from the realistic standpoint of trying to throw in some other factors, I could see either us getting a split with Sacramento. Maybe Fox comes in and he's just rolling off of his recent games and he blitzes us in that first game or something like that. Or I can see either the second game of Sacramento bleeding into the back-to-back with Atlanta, kind of causing us to maybe not play as sharp as we need to or whatever like that. But I can't. I don't want a 2-2 week. I don't want a 1-3 week. So for my own sanity, I'll say 3-1.
Yeah, I'm with you on that sanity thing because I'm gonna go 3-1 as well. Like I said, I'm not putting Josh's thing up there because I don't want to falsely say Josh is gonna say 4-0 or 3-1. But I would say 3-1 honestly on those same accounts. The only reason why I would if this game tonight didn't happen, I would have completely gone for us saying 2-2. I would have said 2-2 because I just. This game was the saving grace for me to say, yes, we can come in and build off of the momentum from the Chicago win and beat Sacramento twice and beat Atlanta, and have a competing game against Indiana.
But if we would have lost this,
if we would have lost this game,
we would have went 0-4 for the week. You really think you would have given us 2-2? I would have thought that you would have been 1-3 again or something.
Oh my goodness! The only reason why I wouldn't go 1-3 is because of the talent, or not the talent, but just because of where Atlanta and Sacramento is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A team like Chicago is better than a team like Atlanta and Sacramento. The Hornets have been good all year, but they didn't have LaMelo, so for us to lose against them was surprising. You know what I mean? That was the game. That was the game of the week where I was like, we really lost to them. Without LaMelo Ball, come on, you know what I mean? Whereas Chicago, and we beat them obviously, but Chicago was another team that we can beat these guys, and they're better than Atlanta and Sacramento. And then with the Clippers,
you would put Chicago saying that they're a better team overall than Atlanta.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that, especially with their addition of Boost.
Okay. I'm looking. So as of right now, they're 3.5 games ahead of the Bulls, and the Pacers are 2 games ahead of the Bulls. But you would say Chicago's a better team than Indiana and Atlanta?
I would say Chicago's a better team than Atlanta, not better than Indiana. Indiana is the best team out of the teams that we're talking about right now. Indiana is the best team. Oh, then the Clippers, right? The Clippers are better than Indiana, but
well, yeah. I was just thinking of the teams that we're playing this week. Yeah.
Of the teams that we're playing this week, Indiana is the clear better team than everybody else.
Okay. I would agree with you that if I look at their roster, well, I don't know. I mean, Atlanta, they're a little younger, but they're winning games.
They are winning games, and my idea is literally that their stretch is going to start to fall apart by the time we come into them. We come into playing against them, and that's literally. I mean, they got a new head coach, and even though they had been killing it in the sense that they've just been winning nonstop, I think eventually you're gonna see 1 or 2 games where they're all right, now we can see where the faults are or whatever. Now we can start to kind of crack into their into what they've been doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the hope. That's the hope is that we're riding our wave in the good way, and
I'm holding out hope. But if I see us go 2-2 again, a 2-2 again, you're hardly gonna see me say that we're gonna go 3-1 and super positive for a week.
So what if we
I will
what if
go
we
back
what
to
if we go 2-2? What if we go 2-2, but it's like we beat Sacramento the first time. We they make some adjustments. It's a real hard fought game, but like we come up short against Sacramento. But we expend a lot of energy trying to get that second win, and it kind of gasses us a little bit, and we come out a little flat, and we lose that back-to-back Sacramento and Atlanta, and then we finish with like a strong performance, a strong win versus the Pacers. Like, would you be okay with that 2-2 week? You know what I mean?
Well, and obviously that kind of comes down to circumstance, because
Yeah.
like if we had gone 2-2 last week, but we beat Charlotte and Chicago, and then just lost 2 competitive games against the Clippers, like nobody's gonna get mad at that.
Yeah.
You know? But if we go 2-2 because we split with the Clippers and then like completely got blown out by the Hornets, you know, like people are going to talk about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Or if we beat the Clippers both times but lose to the two outside teams, then it's like, what the heck? Like, yeah. So I agree that depending on how it goes, it'll change. But I guess that's what I'm trying to say. That's what I was trying to say is like, you know, we might go 2-2 next week, but it might be in a way that, you know, we won't know that until next week. You know what I mean? Anyways, guys, I think that's we've been at it for a little over 2 hours. We had to bring this episode to you guys pre-recorded. We did it the night before we normally do it, because we got some people out of town and spending time with family and all that kind of stuff. So we still wanted to make it work and get an episode out. It was fun because, like I said before at the beginning, we got a chance to kind of talk right after a game. We don't normally do, you know, post-game kind of talks. We talk to each other on Twitter or on text message or whatever. But it was fun to kind of get in here and kind of expand on some of those thoughts and all that kind of stuff. So thanks everybody if you checked us out for any of this this episode this week. We will be back next week. If you can see down on the bottom of the screen, Easter Sunday the 4th. We'll have something up. I don't know if we're 100% sure if we're going to do it live like we do it on Sundays, or if we're maybe going to record it you know, because of the holiday and everything like that. So, but regardless, we're going to make it a point to try to have something out on our YouTube channel, the same way that we normally do when we go live. So if you're interested in that, keep tabs with us on our Facebook or on our Twitter account at Heroes Half Court, and we'll keep you guys updated throughout the week if once we kind of solidify how we're going to get next week's episode out. But again, thanks for jumping in. If you checked us out for any of today's discussions, it was a lot of fun, Jake. All right. With that being said, we got another good week. Our roster is set. You know what I mean? I doubt we're doing anything with, you know, buyouts or anything like that. Who knows? Maybe when Cam Reynolds 10 days up, maybe something does happen, or, you know, but regardless.
Yeah, I know Josh had been saying, he had been saying that we should try and go for Jabari Parker. I don't know about all that. I feel like
what about Dang from Memphis?
Or Dang. I wouldn't mind it, but I don't know if he'd come to a team like us. I feel like he'd be going more towards a contender than he would just come to another team fighting for a playoff seed.
Yeah, but we're better than Memphis. Or at least can probably give him some freaking playing time, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I don't know what the situation was for them to just waive him.
He's another guy. He's another guy that torched us. What if Cam Reynolds? No disrespect to Cam Reynolds. He came in and actually went straight for the hole. So I was appreciative of that today. But what if his 10-day goes out and we end up getting like Jang, and then like Marquise, Chris, and Jang just become like staples of our like bench defense for the next couple years or something?
That'd be kind of crazy, honestly.
That would be kind of crazy. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna head out. But thanks for being here, and we'll just keep on rolling. We're on episode 15, and we're happy to be here every week talking Spurs. So let's get some wins. Go Spurs, go, and then that's it. We'll be out. So all right, thank you guys. Peace out.